Thanks for checking out Geekville Radio on YouTube. I think you know the drill by now. Like and subscribe. Hello, citizens of Geekville. This is Seth, a.k.a. Zandrax, the mayor of Geekville and the host of Geekville Radio. And the trailer we've all been waiting for has finally dropped. The first look at Avengers Doomsday. So today we're going to do what any rational comic fan does with a 2.5-minute trailer. We're going to overanalyze every single frame of it like it's the Zapruder film. Now, my honest gut reaction right out of the gate, the best way I can put it is I am whelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. Just whelmed. Solidly, comfortably in the middle. And I'll explain as we go, but stick around because at the end of this, I'm going to give you some predictions that might ruin or possibly make your week. I might destroy your anticipations. I don't know, but let's get into it. We open with a view of a soot-covered sign for Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, which is Marvel's way of telling us, without saying it outright, that the X-Mansion is probably getting destroyed again. I want to do the math on how many times that building has been leveled across every X-Men adaptation, because to this point, the insurance premiums alone would bankrupt a billionaire. So Doom's voice narrates a warning that something is coming. We cut to Xavier watching us in horror as a massive eruption goes off outside the school. Then a brief but clean shot of Doom himself. And to their credit, I think the armor looks great, looks genuinely comics accurate. Now from here, Thor takes over as our narrator for the rest of the trailer. We get a look at the revised Avengers Tower, where the Fantastic Four show up and meet Sam Wilson, Bucky, and Ant-Man, along with the new Avengers/Thunderbolts. Then we see Thor do a superhero landing.
Superhero landing!
Not the only one we'll see in this trailer. And he faces off against Doom directly. We get a hard cut to explosions at the X-Mansion. And now finally, after 25 plus years of X-Men movies, we get a comics accurate Cyclops. The visor, the jacket, the blue and yellow. We've been waiting since the Clinton administration for this, and I am choosing to be happy rather than bitter about the wait. So Gambit and Shang-Chi throw down in what is the single most predictable beat in any team-up movie. Two heroes who've never met fight each other for a while before realizing they should actually be teaming up against the real threat. It's a trope older than half the audience watching this trailer. And it works because deep down, we're all still 12-year-olds wanting to see two action figures smack each other around before becoming best friends. And we also catch Loki standing in what looks like a pretty simple house holding a TVA card. It's brief, but loaded with implications, and I'll get to that in the prediction section. So cut to Wakanda, where the Wakandans meet the assembled heroes, presumably setting up an alliance for the fight ahead. Then a quick charged exchange between Mystique and Yelena. It's genuinely satisfying to finally see Mystique in a comics-accurate outfit after however many movies of the Mystique basically walking around naked. But from there, the trailer leads into the emotional beats. Xavier and Magneto share a quiet moment. That's doing a lot of heavy lifting for two guys who've been feuding since the Kennedy administration. We see Ant-Man with his daughter. We see Sue and Johnny Storm getting their own sibling beat. It's a lot of emotional table setting packed in a very short runtime, which tells me the marketing team knows this movie lives or dies on whether people actually care about these characters and not just explosions. So Sam and Gambit also get their obligatory superhero landing spots.
Superhero landing!
And then we get the moment that was in the X-Men teaser a few months back. Cyclops going full nuclear with his visor off. It's a shot that sold the whole trailer to a lot of people, myself included, because it finally treats Cyclops' power like the force it's supposed to be instead of just a laser pointer with anger issues. So Thor leaps at Doom with Stormbreaker, and Doom just stops him. No struggle, which is either a very bad sign for Thor or a very good sign for how seriously they're taking Doom here. I think it's the latter. But I'll get to that one in a minute when I do the predictions. But the trailer closes on Thor reuniting with Steve Rogers, one of the cleanest, yep, that's really him moments that Marvel's done in years. So here we go. Predictions. Buckle up. This is the part where I put on my tinfoil hat, which, to give warning, I think I've got a pretty good batting average when it comes to predicting some of this stuff. So if I'm right here, a lot of these could be considered spoilers, but obviously we won't know until the movie hits in December. Now, I've said for a while that I don't think the X-Men are sticking around very long in this movie. This film is supposed to close out the multiverse era and function as a soft reboot for the MCU. Basically Marvel's version of Crisis on Infinite Earths, which DC used to reboot their continuity into one universe and then back in the 1980s. If that's the model they're following, other universes have to end for the story to work. So my bet is the first act of this film is essentially ending the X-Men universe. The Fantastic Four already made their jump onto the main MCU continuity, so it tracks the Fox X-Men universe to get sacrificed to clear the board, which could be related to that big eruption or explosion, could be causing rifts throughout that universe. And Doom is presumably also coming out of the Fantastic Four First Steps universe. They call it the Earth 828. And that would make the Fantastic Four the most logical team to actually formulate a working strategy against him, since they would have been dealing with this guy for a while. And also, given the established history between Bucky, Sam, and Wakanda, it makes sense that they'd be the guys to go to broker an alliance with the Wakandans, rather than just somebody coming up and saying, oh, something evil's coming. As for Mystique versus Yelena, that could be an early first act skirmish, or it's possible Mystique found a way out of the X-Men universe before it got wiped. Or maybe I'm wrong and the X-Men make it through most of the movie. I think it's also a safe bet that this is the same gambit we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine, which means he's coming out of the void. And now for Loki. When we last saw him, he was anchored at the root of the multiversal tree at the end of his own show's second season. So either somebody's covering for him temporarily, or he got pulled, possibly got forced out by Doom himself. And notice Steve Rogers has a beard in this movie, whereas in the early teasers, he was clean-shaven, looking much like he did throughout most of his run in the MCU. So it means that clearly time has passed. There are rumors floating around that Loki is the one who convinces Steve to go live out a quiet life in the Fantastic Four's universe, which that movie was set in an alternate 1960s universe. So Steve living with Peggy, with a young son that's probably the early 50s by this time, maybe late 40s, so he could easily have lived for a good 10 years or so on that other universe, and hence the beard. Now, as for how Doom shrugs off the attack from Stormbreaker, if you know Doom's comic history, it shouldn't be so surprising. The TLDR on Doom is that he's got a scientific mind on the level of Reed Richards, he's got tech on par with Tony Stark, and magical ability on par with Doctor Strange, all stuffed into one supremely arrogant megalomaniac. And since Stormbreaker is a magic weapon, my guess is Doom is repelling it with sorcery rather than brute strength. So you pair that detail with the scene where Thor is praying to Odin, and then giving the impassioned speech about the scale of this threat, and it's really looking like Thor might be the center hero in this film. He might be considered the main character of the movie, right alongside Steve. But I will close with this. I don't think we need to spend any more energy debating whether Doom is going to look like Tony Stark under the mask. My guess is Doom is wearing that mask basically for the entire movie. It's his whole personality. So I think Doom keeps the mask on for the entire movie, and the final shot of the movie would be when he takes his mask off, right at the peak of his victory, so to speak. And that would end the movie on a cliffhanger to set up Secret Wars next year. So that's the trailer, breakdown, predictions, and all, whelming in the moment, but genuinely loaded with enough detail to keep a comics nerd like me busy for a full podcast. Let me know in the comments what you caught, maybe I missed, whether you think Doom's really wearing that mask. This has been Geekville Radio. Once again, like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.
Superhero landing!